I mean, this chains into, another major scandal that happened. You guys mentioned Zero. Zero was probably the best Smash, Wii player. He became one of the best Smash Brawl players. He was incredibly dominant in the Smash Wii era of the scene. And he was later then implicated in some sexual messaging of a minor, right? Technical. So what happened was, these are, you have to understand that from the if you're coming from another esport, this is like the main content creator in your game was running this house. And then the most dominant player by a long shot for like a couple years is now
involved. World record holder.
Yeah. Is now involved in a messaging minor sexual scandal.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that started off actually from the Skyhouse allegation from Jisoo that I was talking about. So she accused Zero initially of at the Skyhouse showing her hentai. That was her allegation. No one else in the house backed it up. I talked to people like Orion and Mewtwo King and people who lived in the house. No one had heard of this. She was the only one who said that. That's why I was like, okay, well, you're just poisoning the well if you're going to throw in fake stuff.
Yep.
Along with all this serious allegations. But as far as messaging the minor, I think it was 19. He was 19 and he messaged a 14-year-old inappropriately.
Did he know that they were that old? Age
yes.
Implied, right?
Yes.
Right.
Yes. So I advocated for Zero to be banned from Smash along with
reasonable, yeah.
Along with the other, he was like a top 5 player or the second best player, Nairo, who actually was sexually intimate with another player that was 15 when he was 20. And there was a whole like nationwide movement to get that guy unbanned, unban Nairo. There was probably like over 100,000 tweets to get that guy unbanned. And if you think about it critically, what he's saying does not make sense. And he alleged that he had a legal defense, like a 30-page document defending himself. He had Alpharad sign on to it, so Alpharad signed out onto it and vouched for him. Void, Paradin, Cosmos. We still have never seen that document, and he's still one of the biggest Smash content creators to this day. So Zero, he doesn't really upload as much. He's pretty much been blackballed, blacklisted. Nairo, still a very huge figure in Smash, and I have no idea why. He's still collabed with like MK Leo, who's like one of the best players in Smash. I don't get it.
Come here, 2 quick things. One, I noticed apparently in Smash they have an even worse disease than we do in the normal part of esports. In esports, we always make fun that when everyone fucks up, they don't just go, well, I'll consult my lawyer. They rush to write a twit longer where they just incriminate themselves further. Apparently everyone's doing fucking 50-page documents in Smash.
Yes.
Detailing all like, mate, at the end of your giant 50-page document, how's it going to let me go? All right, in that case, yeah, message about it. That makes sense, mate.
Zero confirmed everything. He did put a twit longer out, but then, I want to talk to technicals about this part of the story because I think this is an interesting topic just as a sidebar. But then he attempted suicide. And then he went away. Yeah, I know, right? And then he went away for a while. And then he came back. And
guys, as a comment did say on Technical's video, which I thought was brilliant, they said something like, it's a shame this all goes on in a game in which like Luigi punches Pikachu in the face or something. It's like, fucking
it's crazy that we even have to talk about this.
That's madness, isn't it? Yeah, keep going.
He attempted suicide and then went away for a while, obviously to get mentally healthy, came back, and then he said he confessed under duress, like he was being pressured to say that he did it. It was the only way to make people stop and go away. And now he said that he doesn't accept that he did what he was accused.
So now he's retracted even that, right?
The evidence with the case was Zero and Katie when he was 19, she was 14. The messages are him being weird with her, right? But there's no like the direct allegation from her was sexual solicitation.
Yeah, he was going to meet her, right? Like, that was the thing.
No, not a meetup, but of images.
I thought it was. I thought she accused him of like she was going to pay for him to go to a hotel or something. Or was that somebody else?
No, that was a different one. That was a different one, and that was proved that she lied about her age.
So I was going to say she lied about that. Yeah.
So when people say I defended Zero, it's like, yeah, well, I defended him against a chick lying about him showing her hentai, and the other chick who was provably lying about her age. I never.
They say that to make it sound like you defended everything he did.
Exactly. Yes, if you add any nuance to the conversation, and it's like this is what's true, this is what's like false. This person's just lying. Then you defended them just flat out.
But the other thing I wanted to just quickly say is this. There's a reason why I hope that people out there who are just casuals, who aren't familiar with like the pro side of esports, I hope you don't make an obvious mistake here, which is you might think, well, I'm just a lonely nerd who's at home. I'm stuck behind the monitor. I don't meet people. You might think, I can feel sorry for these players, Maybe they just have like bad socialization. Maybe they don't meet girls. Maybe that's like the only connection they had. No. These were the top pros in the game. If you are the top pros in the game, every single hobby and discipline that I'm aware of in the world that has any amount of like skill, fame, or money involved attracts groupies. It attracts people who are all of age who will want to sleep with you if you are famous people. That's why Monte will know a famous case in League of Legends that was like this. The guy I'm thinking of in League of Legends, Monte, could have had girls falling over himself at after parties. He could have had 1,000,000 21-year-olds that wanted to date him. He went out of his way to pick people who were 14, 15. And that's the sinister part beyond just the obvious thing here to me. It's like these people often, it's clearly something that is wrong with them, and they're choosing from among the people, the person who's underage, which can imply things like you think you can manipulate them, you can grip them. Also, it opens up an even shadowier aspect to me. It's not just one person got unlucky and then he found out last minute that they were 40. That's being too generous, I think.
I mean, this is going to sound crazy, but the most generous take on that angle of things is that these people are just extremely emotionally stunted from having played video games for years, and the only people they can.
But let's not get it twisted. All fucking nonces and weirdos like that are. So.
Sure.
Yeah. It's essentially the Michael Jackson defense when he was young and he had his childhood taken away from him because he was a star. He
doesn't forgive it, but also I think it is a factor in what happens is that these people are emotionally young teenagers because they did nothing but play video games, and so the only people that they can interact with, like the fact is that a normal 21-year-old might find their emotional development insufficient.
When you're looking at like the psychological profile of a lot of these guys, especially in Smash, because why is it so prevalent there? Well, there's a lot of meetups in person at your local events, and how good you are at the game correlates with your social standing to these people.
Certainly.
So if they grew up playing the game, and that's been like their understanding of social interactions for like 5-10 years, and then they see this 16-year-old who's really good. They hang out all the time. They go out to eat. They're like, oh, he's just like me. He just plays the game. He's as good as me. We talk like we're, just peers, like colleagues. No, that's not your colleague. That's a child. They don't make that distinction in their head. And that's what causes so many of these cases to happen is they have that mix-up where it's like, no, you need to have that line, that distinction that this is a child and you are an adult. You need to have separate boundaries with how you're interacting with them.
Well, that's what happened with the Cinepi stuff, right? That was the that one was even crazier, like because first of all,
that was what actually kickstarted all of it.
That was the first one.
I remember messaging her. I was like, "Is this true?" And she said no. And then I was like, "Oh, okay." And then it all came out, and I was like, "Well, I guess that was a fucking lie."
Well, yeah, I mean, like she'd basically talked to like a 14-year-old guy.
People don't know this is actually a rare case of a woman doing it.
Yeah, and she was 24.
Yes. And she wasn't bad looking either, so it's like, why?
Yeah, that's also why people disputed it. The logic was like, you wouldn't have to, which is, by the way, a classic thing people say about celebrity predators, unfortunately, isn't it?
Well, but also
they can have any girl, so why do you want you?
South Park, it's hard for guys to come up with that,
Park nailed it with when young boys get groomed and abused by women. They nailed the
Nice episode.
Nice.
Yeah, absolutely.
They absolutely nailed that.
Yeah, they killed it.
I mean, like I've even seen. But put it this way, I've got friends who have been abused, and when they see that news story come up, like hot teacher has sex with 14-year-old school, they still reflexively go, "Man, lucky bastard," and I'm like, "What? Like." How can you of all things?
That's that thing. I always think there's a very obvious mistake they're making. They're envisioning themselves now as an adult now in the body of they're forgetting that when they actually were the 12-year-old, they wouldn't think the same.
They're on some reverse Tom Hanks in big shit.
Agreed.
When you're that young, you're confused and maybe very anxious about it, and that can cause some serious side effects mentally and psychologically.
Power
by the
dynamics,
way,
all that
this
shit.
also ties into the broader picture because as we discussed on the episode about Sonic Fox, actually, one of the reasons why he himself and many others previously boycotted Evo was one of the lead people within Evo was accused of this stuff, right?
Yes. Dude, he literally, Mr. Wizard. So I actually contemplated doing a video on Mr. Wizard because it was the whole thing.
By the way,
where
if you're
he
ever
was-
going to get caught in a case like this, having your alias be Mr. Wizard is like you didn't think this one through at all. But keep
Right.
going, keep going. It's
he was,
right
he
up
was
there,
basically
innit, mate?
giving
Come
them
on.
like Chuck E.
Come on,
Cheese tokens to take off their shorts and stuff in front of them, and it's like, oh my god! And that was Mr. Wizard. He's like, I can't morally support Evo with a pedophile, and it's like, but you can support like several human rights violations from a country that
but
wants
it's
you
even
to
worse
not
than that,
exist?
technicals, because Saudi Arabia has basically enshrined marrying, underage people into law, where they said, oh no, we're not doing underage marriages anymore. And what they have actually done is they have said they created an online rubber stamping system where if a woman has reached like sexual maturity, so as in had their first period, a
Puberty,
doctor
yeah,
can
yeah.
confirm that, and all you have to do is submit that form online to the Saudi government, where it just gets rubber stamp approved by a judge, and you can marry people who are like 12. Just gonna put that out there.
Damn.
And by the way, they had
Where are we, Alabama?
What?
I think it was 2017, they had 15,000 marriages of people aged 15 to 17, obviously mostly women, if not entirely.
Dude, we're gonna see a lot of smash tourneys in Saudi
Listen,
Arabia.
Monte, yeah, no fucking
Wow.
shit. How dare you fucking criticize another culture? I'm fucking shocked.
How dare I have values and then apply them
didn't think I was
universally?
going to meet a real racist
Damn me.
today,
That's
bro.
insane. I didn't know about. I knew about like the child marriages and stuff. I didn't know they had the whole like online.
Oh yeah,
submissions.
I mean, I responded to Sonic Fox with this information on Twitter. I was like,
That's what I don't get, though, 'cause
I
if you're
said,
gonna set,
here's
like, a moral
links to the
Crickets on
articles
that one.
about this, by the way.
Crickets.
And in that statement where he said he was boycotting Evo with Mr. Wizard, it was, I can't support someone something like this when the owner has these allegations. It wasn't even like it was
right, wow.
allegations.
Yeah.
So you're not even like, you don't even have it confirmed and you're already going to boycott, but you won't boycott Saudi Arabia. Like, it just doesn't click to me. I don't.
Yeah, just allegations, mate. You know, those fucking.
All right. So
just allegations, those numbers.
we do need a lot of time to talk about the next couple of topics, because this has been a
Sure.
crash course. Obviously, this wasn't a
Just to
nuanced
wrap it up,
take.
if we may, Monty, if I
Yeah,
may
yeah.
make one final point, I do want people to understand how bad it was and ubiquitous it was in Smash. And I wanted to ask Technicals a question as well, just before we do move on to the next topic. So the first thing I want to say is just to give you an idea of the scale. I think there were over 100 allegations at this time.
I think it was 50 plus.
Right. I mean, I guess
There
if
could
you
be,
include.
but by now, there's definitely.
Yeah.
By the way, a lot of these are
I remember the
essentially
headline on
typified
day
by
one
being-
was 50 allegations or whatever.
Yeah,
the fuck
that was the day
Yeah,
one headline.
yeah.
For
A lot of
sure, by
these
now.
are essentially people grooming people on Discord, right? It's mainly stuff
yes,
like that.
it's a lot of like.
It's mainly
e-gaming.
messaging, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
So, I mean, you know, that's how omnipresent it was in this particular community. And put it this way, I was there. I was at the forefront. I was writing about the esports Me Too movement, saying this is a good thing. I think people, they thought I was so much of an edgelord. I would be online with it, like on board with abusive women or something. Like people didn't know me at all. I was out there writing about it. I got picked up by a few the mainstream press outlets because I was saying this is fucking long overdue. Like, there's a bunch of mediocre fucking men that are absolute monsters behind the scenes, and people know it. But but the victims don't want anyone else to say about it because it's their story. It's got to be them that decide what you want to do with that, even if you know about it. And all you could do is back channel and go to tournament organizers. Maybe don't hire this guy. He's a fucking wrong or whatever. And so I was saying all of this stuff. Sorry, jump in, Tech.
No, I could directly credit most of my success in my career to those allegations coming out.
Sure.
Covering the bad ones and then also providing actual evidence to some of the other ones that were probably more hysterical because it was almost like a mass psychosis where everyone convinced themselves they needed to come out with something.
Yeah.
And not always was it accurate. So you see that sometimes with like the Me Too era
Sure,
stuff.
you did.
Also,
and I made that point
unfortunately,
too.
A lot of that era was people who saw an opportunity to become famous lying or
Oh, yeah, but
exaggerating the truth.
This was the madness of the Me Too period of the internet, right? It was that, okay, we want abusers out, right? Of course we do. What the fuck? Right? That's pretty straightforward. And yeah, you know, I'm going to listen to the allegations. But then it kind of veered into the, well, believe every allegation territory. And if you don't believe every allegation, you might be a sexist pig. And it's like, no, it's pretty
Like, did you seriously just question me? It's like, you wrote a wall of text, so whatever this other guy says can immediately counter what you just said because there's no direct evidence to what you're claiming.
And so I was saying that, going like, look, some of these allegations don't pass the sniff test. We should be very, very careful, because you want to know what's like one down on the totem pole of like an abuser doing something abusive, making up an abuse allegation and fucking destroying someone's life. You know, like they become unemployable, their wife leaves them, they lose access to their kids. You know what I mean? We
just had a case in Strive in the FGC where Umisho, one of the top players, like one of the top 10 players in the game, lied about sexual assault, and then another player, Red I Am Not, attempted suicide because of that. And then Arxis finally stepped in, and they only gave everyone a 3-month ban. I'm like, what are you talking about? This person gets a 3-month ban for lying about sexual assault. They admitted to lying about sexual assault. They apologized to the person. He got unbanned because everyone was lying about him. And now they're just chill, and they're just going to the event. I'm like, that's insane to me.
Yeah.
I think you should have the same punishment.
To tie it to what you guys said earlier, notice what the key distinction there, Richard. It's not that someone has evidence come out or they are found guilty in a court of law. Allegations alone can destroy your entire career. Yep, as pointed out, even though it turned out maybe that guy did do it.
The way the modern internet
just the allegations
works, brother,
will make everyone
you know
distance
this,
you.
all that ever has to happen is some half-truth, vaguely remembered, like we're in fucking Silo. We can't remember the actual fact or what it was all about. But didn't we hear something about Thorin being a fucking racist or something like that? Now, I can't find a tweet of you doing it, and I can't find a fucking, report of you.
It's almost like a vibes thing, but it feels like it.
But it feels like he probably would be.
Absolutely.
Look at his mean little pinched up face. He probably is one. So
they don't realize the victims that they're creating when they do that. People who are victims of that have like PTSD. They struggle with their personal life. It's
not just that. What huge disrespect to actual victims of abuse. If you flood the zone with shit, that's less attention on the victims that need your support by definition. So it is an outrageously unpleasant thing to do.
And God forbid you ever actually, somehow it's rare, get proven that you lied and made it all up, because then you will actually now cast doubt upon other unrelated cases where people didn't do any of that shit, but that was some idiot 15-year-old's going to go away. That was nonsense.
I always tell victims when I correspond with them to at least try to get some kind of report, get something on file, something that can like help you out, because even if you just have that, people will believe you more. And that
they'll say, why didn't you go to the police and stuff? Yeah, you got to have like a report.
Yeah, exactly. Like, you got to defend yourself before you want me to defend you.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. So, look, here was the question I wanted to ask you. And it's just one that I have a morbid curiosity in. Obviously, you covered the Zero story, and I think you were incredibly fair in how you covered it, in that you said, this allegation appears to be true, these allegations appear to be false, this person should be banned on the basis of this allegation here. And then obviously he attempts suicide. And I wanted to know what you were feeling when that news kind of came filtering to you, because I've written articles that have ultimately led to putting people in very dark places, because I am acting on a public interest, but I'm also empathetic enough to realize that, when bad people are going to commit self-harm, I'm not saying I necessarily want that to happen either, right? Like, so how did you feel when that kind of came out?
Well, my mom was a cop. I grew up Baptist Christian, so I'm kind of like on the redemption side of things. Right. I want people to go through the due process and, become in their own way valuable to society if possible. So I don't like seeing these situations where people get this giant mob and then it's like, it's just a lynch mob where they want them to basically just die.
Yeah.
I'm never out for blood. I want accountability. I want them to recognize that what they did is wrong, and admit to that, and maybe try to be a better person after the fact. But yeah, no, whenever I see something like a suicide attempt, I'm like, okay, maybe we need to reevaluate how hard we're going in on this. Give them a little bit of space to breathe, but don't let them fully off the hook just because of that.
You didn't feel any guilt?
From the suicide attempt?
Yeah.
I don't think I contributed to Zero. attempting suicide.
Because well, I mean, a lot of people make the argument when you're a reporter, which I know you know, we can joke around and say you're a YouTuber.
People accuse me of hacks. People accuse me of contributing to hacks.
This is why I wanted to bring this up now and kind of ground some axioms and stuff, because we're going to be talking about that later. But obviously, it's like, you know, there will be people that will point the finger and go, well, if you hadn't made your video, he wouldn't have got harassed. You know?
Right. He attempted suicide before I started working on the video.
Oh, my bad. Okay, so I'm off on the chronology, right? Okay. But you had talked about it, right? Hadn't you?
I don't think I talked about his specifically, because at the time I made my ESAM video where I exposed him saying the N-word. And then people accused me of using that situation where all the allegations were coming out to kind of jump. I was already working on the video. It was a long video.
Right.
But those allegations all came out at the same time.
I thought you had covered the Zero thing as it was happening. Sorry.
Yeah. No, I came like months and months later.
Right. Oh, so I'm misremembering. Because I do follow all of your stuff, and I followed all that Smash stuff at the time. Because it was the big,
I got accused of trying to jump onto that wave because of the ESAM thing. I was like, no, it's a coincidence, bro.
Okay.
And he just ended up in the Gamer from Mars video for 100 white YouTubers that said the N-word, if you guys want to check that out.
Oh, yeah, I saw that. I just couldn't think of a piece of content I'd want to watch less. Like, you know what I mean? 100 content creators that said...
Surely that gets old like a minute or two in, you know what I mean? Like, I think I know what's coming.
It's 2 hours long. I can't...
What sort of pre-drinking ritual do you need to watch that video? I know.
But like, it also to like... Okay, look, I understand we're going to chronicle things for history. That's it.
It's the idea that's what they find in some silo future where there's not much media. There's an old video here. Fucking hell.
All
right.
It's absolutely ridiculous. Sorry, we can move on. All
right. So, Tech, before we get into the hacks and mango stuff, is there any other issues from the past that you think inform those topics? Because the purpose of giving this kind of laying the groundwork is that, you know, this has been a community that has been in crisis for a significant amount of time and had some of the, I would say, biggest scandals, not only in Smash, like FGC, but also all of esports, that they've kind of slid under the radar of the broader esports fans' attention.
Right. So we mentioned the lack of sponsorships from a parent company. So part of the problem is the decentralization. There is just warring factions and groups that kind of work like cliques to inform different groups of how things should be ran and to also self-police. They're not good at self-governance. They've admitted that. They've tried different systems. They've all crumbled after a year or months of attempting to build some kind of code of conduct structure. So that's one problem. Another problem
let me just jump in here and say that's because this is a grassroots effort and there's a bunch of independent tournaments and competitions, and basically the organizers get together and try and make some sort of rules about their circuit, and this is what he's talking about has failed.
Yeah. Right. That it always fails because they can't agree, or they don't want to give too much power to one person. They're like, oh, you want to decide you want to have all the power. It's like, no, dude, I just want to, get something working. So they always fight over kind of that power imbalance. And then also, like we talked about, there's no line on behavior, like how you're supposed to behave with children versus your peers that are actually your own age. And then you mix that in with like substance abuse, alcohol, even hallucinogens like LSD. There was an issue with me where the player from my region, he started doing cocaine and LSD, and he tried to hit me with his car. And that's kind of what like launched me criticizing Smash players, because I was like, this is not a good environment to be in.
Like what?
So yeah,
wait, you got tried to fucking kill you,
pretty much, and he
hasn't even had a police for that.
What the fuck?
I don't think it was high when he tried to kill me, but he was doing LSD.
Did he get in trouble with the police for that?
Yeah, and then they unbanned him. They banned him, and then they had a meet.
They banned the axe guy forever, but people are allowed to attempt vehicular.
This was in my local. This was in my local area. Yeah.
Hell.
And then he took his mom's car, drove it into a wall, survived, and then started telling everyone at a Denny's that he was Jesus Christ because he survived. And then he later got arrested.
Right.
Yeah, he got arrested at a college because he started making death threats to people over Facebook.
I mean, listen, since you're, a Baptist and all that, you'll, obviously he was clearly unwell. I mean, so, I guess glad you made it through with that one, and hope he's better as well, I guess.
Yeah.
That sounds like that's more than drugs. That sounds like he's got fucking, schizophrenia or something.
He had some problems. He had like narcissistic problems, but
Many suitcases.
See more cool, funny, interesting clips based on topics from my content? Well, subscribe to this channel then, or, be a pleb and don't.